Serving their community is who they are because they love where they live. ReMax 3D Real Estate is proud to bring you Heart of Greenville, a video series dedicated to celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Greenville, Texas. On every episode, Tanisha Denny will share Greenville's story through the stories of people who call Greenville home. This is Heart of Greenville.
Thank you for tuning in to Heart of Greenville, where we get to hear the stories behind the wonderfully great people of our community. I asked Mandy Stewart to come on the show, not only because she's a leader inside of our office, but also because she's a leader in our community and gives back with her whole heart. Here's my conversation with Mandy Stewart. Hey y'all, I'm Tanisha Denny with Heart of Greenville. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we are at the Boys and Girls Club with the current board president, Miss Mandy Stewart, who's also an agent with ReMax 3D Real Estate. How are you, Mandy?
Good, thank you. How are you today?
I'm awesome.
Good.
Thank you so much for letting me twist your arm.
It was a little arm twisting.
It was. You may have asked me like 5 or 6 or 10 questions first before you agreed to come on the show. But you've done so much in your lifetime, and our short lifetime, let's say,
yes.
in our 42 years. Mm-hmm. In fact, you and I actually met. I did the math. I moved here to Greenville ISD in the second half of 8th grade, which means we have known each other 27 years.
Kind of ages us a little.
Just a little. I think we're in the prime though.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But you know, in that amount of time, 27 years, you have always done everything with excellence, and that is one thing that I've always loved and admired about you, which is why I really wanted you to come on the show. And I want people to know the story behind Mandy. They know what you've done publicly in the community, but they don't know the stories behind you. And so if you will just take a few minutes, let's talk about you growing up here and your stories of how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Well, hopefully my story is not too boring. But so I was born here in Greenville in 1978 at the Greenville Hospital. My dad is originally from Princeton. My mom's originally from Dallas, but we had a family farm in Cumbie. And my grandparents moved here to kind of be in between, and so my parents followed, and then my sister was born before me, and then came along, and we've just been here ever since. And I went to I'm a graduate of Greenville, but I started out in a private school. It was St. Paul's, and then the Phoenix School because my mother taught there. And then once I graduated out of the Phoenix School, went to GISD where I finished out and got my diploma, and I'm proud to be an alumni of GISD where my kids are now going. And so then after high school, went on to get my bachelor's degree from Texas A&M Commerce and got a job, and later got my master's degree also from Texas A&M Commerce. So I kept it all very local. I didn't stray too much. And I will say that my original plan was to get my basics here in commerce and then go on to what I thought were bigger and better things. But life happened, and I stayed here for various reasons, and I'm really glad I did. That you could not convince my 18-year-old self that, but now that I look back, I'm very, very pleased with the way things turned out with my life.
That's awesome. You definitely show your local support in so many of the things that you do. I want to go back to your childhood for a minute because I happen to know you grew up on Park Street.
Yes.
So share something fun from that experience.
So Park Street, I just love it. And I'm not cut out to have an historical home. It's a lot of work. They're beautiful. I love to visit them. I love to walk through them. But I would love to live there again. I just know it's not for me. But we used to do, this is so silly that I remember this, but our youth group growing up at First Baptist used to do a fundraiser. And everybody knows Christmas is really big on Park Street. Well, you know, I think they're called luminarias, the paper bags with the candles in them. To raise money for our annual ski trip, we would sell those to the residents, and then we would go set them up and hand light. And Park Street's a long street, and almost every house participated. And it was so cool. A little bit of a fire hazard because, you know, paper bags.
Candles?
They were candles.
Candles and paper bags.
But just to drive down the street and see the whole street lit up. And then, like I said, everybody just got involved and decorated their houses as they still do. And, you know, the wagon rides. And I don't know, Christmas is such a magical time anyways, but Christmas on Park Street was always one of my favorite things. And that I look back on with a lot of fondness growing up there.
That's awesome. I knew you would have something special for Mark Street. I know when I moved here and I came over to your house one time, you were having a party, and I'd never been like in a like historical type home, and I just remember being in awe of all the decor and all of the crown molding, and just it was a really cool house. So it was fun.
Many great memories. Our house was kind of the house growing up that like all my friends came to, and my dad is a retired firefighter, so he was gone, 24 hours at a time. And he still talks about our downstairs guest bedroom had this huge California king size bed in it. And he would come home from the fire station on Saturday morning or Sunday mornings and stick his head in there. And he said he would see like 5 or 6 girls, like that everybody had spent the night, and we were all just piled up in that bed, sound asleep. And he would bring donuts, and I'm still, still connected to those girls today. And I love that we have those memories, and that it was such a special time that even my parents remember all the fun stuff that we did. It was a good house.
That's really cool. Awesome. Well, let's fast forward. Let's go back to college, because I think you met someone special somewhere not too far along the way, Mr. Jimmy.
Yes. Well, he came actually well after college.
Oh, he was after college.
After college.
You have to tell your story about him, though, because it's pretty funny how you guys met.
So we met through a mutual friend. We all 3 worked at L3 at the time, but we didn't meet on site, which is really strange, given the fact that after we met, we found out we worked right down the hall from each other. But I was at the Greenville Avenue St. Patrick's Day Parade over in Dallas with 10,000 other people. My friend Kristen and I had gone over, and she said, "Oh, some of my friends are here. Let's go say hi to them." So we went over, and she introduces me to 4 guys, and Jimmy was in that crowd. And, the St. Patrick's Day Parade is a little rowdy. People are a little rambunctious and having a good time. And I was just really kind of annoyed with him because he was just acting silly. And I was like, ugh, who is this guy? Whatever. Well, then she wasn't trying to set us up. She was just going to say hi to her friends. Well, we spent a little time, hanging out together through my friend Kristen. And it's so funny because we started to kind of develop this flirtation, and Kristen kept saying, "No, y'all don't date each other. No, no, no." And it just kept going and kept going. We really developed a great friendship. Jimmy and I spent about 9 months of this, we're not dating, we're just friends, but yet we were together all the time. We went to the movies, we went out to eat, we cooked together. And so, we are not perfect by any means, and we've only been married just shy of 8 years. So we're not setting any records, but I think it really helped that we developed that friendship foundation to start with. We learned the good, the bad, and the ugly before we fell in love, I think, and that's what made us fall in love. But it's just so funny that I was not interested in him. My friend Kristen kept telling us, "No, y'all don't need to date." And now she's like, "I don't know why I said that. Y'all are the perfect couple." And he's a fun guy, and he's an amazing father and husband. So I'm really glad that I didn't trust my initial gut reaction. So once I got to know him outside of the St. Patrick's Day Parade, I realized he was the guy for me.
He was the guy. That's awesome. I've always loved that story. I think that's so funny. And I love how you're just honest about how you felt up front.
Yeah, well, he was a little bit of a nerd too, but now I've learned, I say a nerd because shortly after he was at a LAN party. And if you don't know what a LAN party, it's when all these guys come together, or girls, and bring their computers and play video games. And he was doing that on a Saturday night, and I was like, who is this guy? But now his little quirky, nerdy side is one of the things I love most about him.
Oh, that's so sweet. So sweet. Well, and you guys have children.
We do. We have Zane, who is 6, and he's in kindergarten at Lamar, and he's loving it. And Layla, who is our little tornado, and she's 3. And she goes to daycare at Brooklyn, and I'm paying for my raising with her.
Yes, you are. She is precious and adorable, but she knows what she wants, and she's going to get it.
She's going to do great things in life if I can survive raising her. And Zane is a mini version of his dad, so he's going to do great things as well. And I'm just glad I get a front row seat to both of them.
Well, and you're an awesome mom, which really leads to how you got into real estate. So let's talk about your career at L3. You had a highly successful career at L3, but you wanted to spend more time with your family. So let's talk about that.
So when I was in college, I got a job working for the Royal Australian Air Force. It was kind of like a Kelly Services, not temp, but I was hired out through another organization to go be their secretary. It was a great job. I had so much fun working with this group of Australians. But then their program came to an end and they were going back to Australia, and one of the managers at L3 stopped by and was like, "What are you going to do now?" And I was like, "I don't know. I haven't thought that far." And he was like, "Why don't you come work for me?" So I was like, okay. So I went through the whole application process and got hired as a co-op.
What age were you at that point?
I was 21.
Okay.
21. So I was still in college. And so I was working as a co-op at L3, which was great because they paid for part of my college. I had full benefits. I was getting paid well. It was great. And then once I graduated, they offered me a full-time position. And I had a couple of different positions out there, but then I got accepted into what was called the Program Management Apprentice Program. So it was training younger employees to learn how to work in program management out there. And my final position, the one that I worked up to and was most proud of, was a program manager for the reconnaissance programs on the flight line. So we oversaw the ground and flight test portion of the overhaul of the aircrafts. And my goodness, it was such a fun and challenging job. I learned something new every day. There were a lot of headaches and there was a lot of stress and there was a lot of hours, but it was very rewarding. I knew what I was doing was really making a difference and that it was gonna, have a big impact on our country. But, and I had a great relationship with the people we worked with, and it was just fun. We had a lot of fun, but we worked very, very hard. But because we were doing flight tests, part of my job was to be there when the airplane was flying, and sometimes that meant I was there at 5 a.m. or I was there at midnight, or a couple of times I get a 2 a.m. phone call that something broke and the airplane's coming back, so I have to get up and go in. And while that was fun and exciting, it wasn't very conducive to young children, and working 55 hours a week wasn't conducive to young children. And so I was on maternity leave with Layla, and Jimmy and I just felt it was time for a change. And we also liked the idea of diversifying our portfolio a little bit, not both of us working at the same company. And my sister and brother-in-law are builders and developers, so I've been around construction and real estate for a long time just through them. And they said, "Why don't you look at getting a real estate license? You've been here forever, the area, you're somewhat familiar with, the construction process, you have a big network through your volunteer work." And I was like, "Well, that sounds kind of cool." So looked into it, met with you, talked through real estate and what all it entails. And I started working on my real estate license while I was still on maternity leave. And my plan was to go back to work and finish my license. And this was in August, and then not go back after Christmas. But things changed and some opportunities came up, so I left a little earlier and became licensed on October 13th of that year, and been trucking ever since, and I love it. It's worked out so great. I do still work as much sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm still putting in those 55-hour weeks, but it looks so different because maybe it's from my phone, or maybe it's while we're driving, I've got my laptop in the car while we're driving to vacation, and there are times that I work on the weekends, but there's also random Wednesday afternoons that I can, not so much now that school's in session, but, take the kids to the water park and stuff that I was never able to do when I was clocking in and out at a regular job. And so it's been great. And it's allowed me the opportunity to dive back into my community service. As I was promoted and took on more responsibility at L3, I had to step back from some stuff. And that was a choice I was okay with because I was happy to grow my career at the time, but I was really excited to get to jump back in with both feet and get back into the volunteer world as well.
Share some of the different organizations and activities that you've been a part of.
So for a few years, I was the chairman of the local Relay for Life here in town, and then served on the American Cancer Society board here locally. One of my longest commitments was with the Greenville Follies. Started out as a performer, worked my way up to committee members, board members, and was president for like 8 or 9 years until the organization dissolved. It was one of those things that we wanted to go out with a bang and on our terms, so we didn't want to, fizzle out. So we did dissolve in 2018, which sad to see it go, but it was time. And And then I've spent some time, I'm currently serving as the president of the Parks and Rec Board for the city of Greenville, which I love because at the time we are in my life and my family's life, we're using all of that stuff. We're playing the youth sports, the parks and all that. So that's a fun opportunity. And then my biggest time commitment and thing that I love the most right now is the Boys and Girls Club. And I've been a member of the board since 2014, and I think I'm going on my second or third year as president, third year, and just I really love it. There's such a need for this organization, and we're doing, and I say we, the staff and the volunteers are doing great things for the kids of our community. And then I've been on, I was a Rotarian for a while. I was at Altrusa for a while. I'm on the Greenville Education Enrichment Foundation. Just, a lot of little things over the years. But right now, I think with my kids getting to be school-aged, I'm trying to focus more on kids and education stuff. So I've got the Education Foundation, Lamar PTA, and the Boys and Girls Club are kind of my big things right now.
That's awesome. Okay, but we can't leave out this bronze that sits in your office, Mandy.
Yes.
So let's share with everyone about that beautiful bronze of your face.
So I received it in January of 2009, but it was for 2008. I was named the most worthy citizen for Greenville, which is done by the Economic Board of Development and Chamber of Commerce, which that was a huge honor. I believe I was the youngest person to get it, which was a huge honor at that time as well. And
how old were you at that point?
Oh goodness, I'd have to do the math.
Were you about 30?
Right about 30.
That's awesome.
So it's it was not, I don't do my volunteer work, for the recognition, but it was nice that people actually noticed that, hey, she's out there working hard and that they thought I was doing a halfway decent job at it, So.
It says a lot for them to award that to you at the age of 30 because most people are older. They've put in years and years and years, but you did a lot in a very short period of time and continue to do that.
I learned from the best. Outside of my parents, my two biggest community role models were Tubby Atkinson and Ron Wenzel, and nobody can compete with those two. They were both unique individuals that our community was so blessed to have, and I learned a lot from both of them. They both took me under their wing and showed me how to fundraise and showed me how to get out there in the community and work for these organizations. And so I was blessed to know and work with both of them.
And that's really cool. You get to carry on their legacy.
I worked very hard to make Ron proud. Because I know he's up there watching and he's probably shaking his head at some things. But
no, I know you make him proud. But it's our generation's turn. It's time that we start stepping up and we become the Ron Wenzels and the Tubby Atkins of our community. And you are blazing the trail for that. So, and I think it's great you didn't stop. You received the award, but it didn't make you slow down. You continue to pour back into the community every single day.
It's fun. I enjoy it. I mean, it is a lot of work, but I can selfishly say that I do it because it's fun. And I know that what we're doing in all of these organizations is making a difference in our community, which is only making our community better.
Right. That's right. And it's such a great time to be doing that. We're growing like crazy.
Yes.
I'm going to go back to the bronze for a second. I'm going to brag on you for a minute because you actually have a second bronze.
Yes. I'm getting a collection. My goal is to have a bronze collection.
It's not your face on this one, but it's an eagle type award. But for being Realtor of the Year last year. And I think that was a huge accomplishment within our brokerage.
I was not expecting it to be such a young agent.
Yes. But at that point, you'd been in the business for 2 years and you had a mission. You came into real estate with a mission and you were very intentional about your goals and to be consistent. And you put that into action and made that happen. And I think that's something that everyone dreams about and they want to do. But you took the action to have a very successful second year, but you also grew personally. there was so much personal growth inside of you, coming from L3 and working in a very structured world,
Yes.
and then coming into a very unstructured world of real estate.
Yes.
And you overcame that so beautifully. How
thank
you don't stress as bad whenever things maybe don't go your
in the
way.
beginning, there were a few times I was like hyperventilating into a paper bag because stuff wasn't going the way my type A personality needed it to.
I
But
remember
I've
you saying,
learned-
where's their manager? How do I get to their manager? How do I escalate this?
Yes. It doesn't work that way in real estate.
It doesn't. But I wanted to take a minute and just tell you how proud I am of you and what an incredible agent you have been, and how you just continue to do more and more for your clients. You give your clients first class service, and you take every transaction to the next level. So thank you for that. From me to you, I just want to say thank you.
And I think that a lot of my success has to do with what's around me and the environment we're in with you and the team at ReMax, because I mean, obviously I've never worked in another brokerage, but I feel like that there's no competition with us. I mean, don't get me wrong, we would all love to be top producer and we like to, achieve our goals, but we cheer for each other. And as cliche as it sounds, I feel like we are a true family, and I love to see my fellow agents succeed, and I know they love to see me succeed, and that helps. It helps when you have a whole team cheering you on, and it's fun to cheer for them too. So.
It is. Well, and you're a great cheerleader.
I was mascot in 8th grade. I wasn't a cheerleader, but mascot.
Hey, that counts. I'll take that all day long. Well, let's talk about Greenville. The show, we created Heart of Greenville because we want to talk about the stories behind the people, but also what the people in our community love about Greenville. And so you have served in so many different capacities. So let's talk about, what does Mandy Stewart love about Greenville?
I love that I can, and some people don't like this, I love it that I can walk into the store or I can walk into a restaurant and I'm going to see somebody I know and I'm going to get to say hi to them and how are you doing? How's your family doing? I don't like to be an anonymous little, mouse on the wall. Like, I'm an outspoken person. I'm always, when we were in Follies, I was always like, put me on the front row, let me perform. So I love being able to see people and to talk to people and visit with people. And I love that when we have community events, whether it's something where Lee Street is blocked off and everybody's, having fun down there, just to walk down the street and see people I know and see people out with their families having fun. There's a few events that are some of my favorites, and of course 2020 has changed a lot of that, but some of the events that I absolutely love are the 4th of July parade on Park Street, and again that goes back to when I lived there growing up. The Christmas parade is my all-time favorite. I remember being in the Christmas parade as a little kid. I remember marching in it with the flaming flashes. I got to be Grand Marshal when I was a worthy citizen, so I got to, drive and wave. And then I've watched it from the sidelines, for many years as well. And it's just fun. I love to see, because it's not just Greenville. It's the whole surrounding community comes out, and just to see the Christmas cheer on everyone's face and everyone's waving and laughing. And then now to see it through my kids' eyes, I love it. And then my kids have been on the ReMax float the last 2 years, and they loved that so much. So the Christmas parade and 4th of July parade, I love. Obviously, like the 4th of July fireworks. When we had Emerald City Band down on Lee Street, like that was so much fun when the streets are blocked off. And you've got doctors and lawyers and teachers and real estate agents all dancing in the middle of Lee Street together, having fun, which was a big event for our community. Just anything like that where I can go and just be in the middle of it all and see all these different walks of life come together and have fun here locally. Like, I love those kind of events. And I think we do a pretty good job of making them happen here in town, if we can ever get over 2020.
When we get over 2020.
And things can be normal again.
Yes. I know. I do. I love the parades too. And
Yes.
I agree. There is something magical, especially at the Christmas parade, just seeing the streets lined with people and just that
Yes.
Christmas cheer and the children's eyes when they see the floats, no matter what float
Right.
it is, they just light up.
Well, and I love that they've added, I think it's 2 or 3 years old now, the little MC booth in front of the municipal auditorium, because it makes me feel like I'm in the Macy's Day Parade and I'm passing Al Roker and Matt Lauer as we're on our float. And then, they put some videos on Facebook. It's really starting to seem like this bigger, more professional event. But I love that it's still just volunteers putting it together, and churches and businesses and Girl Scout troops building floats. And it's just a lot of fun to see how everybody comes out and their creativity comes out in their floats. So
Yes.
That's one of my favorites for sure.
That's awesome. Well, Mandy, thank you so much for all that you do in our community. Thank you for so much, all that you do in our office. You are a huge contributor. You are the queen of the gold stars in our
I love
office.
my gold stars.
I know if I throw a gold star out there, Mandy's going to go for it. But no, you are driven with excellence, and I love that about you and appreciate that. And you do everything with your heart, and you have such a compassionate heart. You have such a fun personality, and sometimes we get to hear your fun, dry, sarcastic personality. But behind that is this incredibly caring and loving person. And so I think you got to relay that today, and people see the fun side and the soft side of you as well.
It's in there. It takes a little bit to get it out sometimes, but it's in there.
Well, we love you for it. I have one final question for you.
Okay.
The question that I like to just put at the end is, what is the best piece of advice you have ever been given, and how have you applied it?
That is a tricky question, because I feel like I've been given a lot of good advice through some training programs I've been through. But Jack Cook, who was the site executive and the TRS president at L3 when I was going through the apprentice program, once told me that, you can attract more flies with honey than vinegar. And I had to use that a lot in my program management career, and I use it daily in real estate. And it's so simple, and I know he didn't, coin that phrase, but the environment that he said it to me in, it really stuck with me. And that's something I try to use in every aspect of my life, with my kids, with my real estate business, with my volunteer work. There's no reason to be rude or demanding if you ask with a smile, a lot of times you'll get what you need. And so it's like I said, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's just something that's always stuck with me, and something that I try to use and implement daily.
That's a great reminder. And we need that, because sometimes things do go sideways. And so it's great to remember that you catch more flies with honey.
And then
than
you
vinegar.
can vent behind the scenes.
Yes, I know.
But ask nicely when you need something from someone.
Exactly. I get to be that person sometimes.
Yes.
It's like, okay, then lay it all out to me. Okay, then this is how we go
Yes.
back with our kindness. And,
Yes.
But, you live your life that way, though. I mean, you do treat people with kindness and love. And so I think that was a great piece of advice to be given to you. And you carry it forward.
Jack Cook was a good mentor to learn from as well professionally. So I like that I had that little nugget from him.
That's awesome. Well, Mandy, thank you so much for coming on Heart
you.
of Greenville. Thank you for saying yes. And I've enjoyed our conversation so much.
too.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching Heart of Greenville. This video series, which is designed to celebrate Greenville, Texas, is spearheaded by ReMax 3D Real Estate.